So I shared before, and I want to share this again now that we're actually here together properly. I was sharing how we first met and how I'd sat in ceremony with a maestro, and he was sharing the story of how he gave his daughter $200 to go and create a business. And they were in Bali at the time. She was 17, and she just didn't really take it seriously. Oh, you okay, dear?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, she didn't really take it too seriously, and he's like, look, if you want to do this, like, you do it, and then if you need my help, you let me know, you book in an appointment. And so she ended up going on for a while, and then she created these beautiful hummingbird rings. And when he shared the story with us, you've got yours on, dear.
I wear it all the time. I never take it off.
Oh, trippy, right? So I love a story, and I love when people do amazing things, and I'll buy anything when someone gives me, like, hits me in the heartstrings. So he's got these beautiful rings like deer, and I bought myself one as well. I think mine's in my car. And he said, one day you may be somewhere around the world and you bump into somebody who's got one of these rings on as well, and you will know. And here we are, Deya and I, that would have been, I think, maybe about January 2018. And then we're at this event in the July, I think it was, last year. And Deya's there taking photographs. We'd never met before. And I looked down at her hand, and she's got this hummingbird ring on. And it was just like we were just soul sisters, straight up connection. And then, and funny thing, Deya said to me there, it was July, and she said, I have a friend that you may like to be connected with that does events and retreats. And I had no idea what retreats and events he did, but my soul was like, yeah, I want to meet this guy. And so Deya linked him and I in a conversation. Kyle is his name. And she linked us in a conversation, a Facebook Messenger chat. And I never heard back from him. We had an initial chat. He said he'd email me something, and I never got it. So about October, it was July, about October, I was scrolling through my Messenger chat and was like deleting messages. And I almost went to delete this 3-way chat. And this part of my being was like, just reach back out one more time. And so I sent Carl a message, and I said, I would love to know what you do, with still no clue about what he did. And he said, I've sent you info. I'm like, well, I haven't got it. And he had my email address wrong. So when he finally sent the information through, it was for a retreat in Peru in November last year. And there was a girl who just pulled out of it and they had one space available. And it was like, what? And Deya was there. I just got full goosebumps. And Deya was going as well. So that is how we have connected. We created such a beautiful initial connection just from these rings, like who would have thought it. And then in Peru, we spent 14 days journeying with ayahuasca and some other master plants as well, and really got to, I feel like, create such a sacred, beautiful friendship.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that story. It's a really beautiful story. It's amazing how the hummingbird ring brought us together, and how much we grew from that time in Peru as well.
Mm-hmm. And what about on one of the last days when we were sitting there at Mama's house, and you were getting some medicine, some plant, there was something that you were taking, and you took me out the back, and do you remember there was 2 hummingbirds that came down to the tree just beside us?
Yeah, to the tobacco plant, and it was early in the morning, and we sat there, and it was just humming. It was so beautiful, such a magical moment.
And I'm just getting emotional thinking about it, because I had this conversation with Kate Schiffer-Gray. We've had a couple of conversations over the last couple of weeks, and she takes people on plant medicine journeys and does different retreats and whatnot. And we were talking about how ayahuasca calls you. And, I had, I don't know if I can stand up, but I have the most beautiful hummingbird tattoo on my arm. And I got that before I started journeying with ayahuasca, with no knowledge that that's what, that was one of the symbols of ayahuasca. And that's what she does, ayahuasca. It's like she comes into your life slowly, and then all these synchronicities start happening. And it's magic. Like, looking back on the journey of, like, with us and how we connected, and then journeying in Peru, it's just like so beautiful what happens in that space when ayahuasca calls you.
And when you open to the call, when you are receptive to it, and you go with that feeling, like the fact that you were scrolling through your messages, and then you saw that, and you felt that call, and you went for it. You were like, actually, I'm going to follow up on this.
Yeah, well, and that's the soul nudge, right? We talk a lot about the soul nudge, or I talk a lot about soul nudge. And it's like, people are like, well, what is the soul nudge? That's the soul nudge. It's like, okay, I'm going to delete that. My consciousness is like, let's delete that. And then my being goes, no, 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 do not delete that. It's like there's something bigger at play. And yeah, it's much bigger. It's like we live in the third dimension, soul's in the fifth dimension. And I think for when we can, as we start to listen to those little nudges, we begin to open up more, and we begin to hear more, we begin to see more, and we begin to create more. And yeah, it's just beautiful. I love how it all happens.
Yeah.
Enough of us meeting. I love that story. Deya, share with us. Before you share with us, I just want to share with everybody else. You are such a beautiful soul. Your purity, your essence, your womanhood, the way you look after your body, the way you treat yourself as a woman. You were permission to speak freely about yonis here. Yeah. So we're in Peru, and Deya says to me, just blew my mind. She said, I will not let a man anywhere near my yoni until he gazes at her. I don't know how long you said it for, but it was like, there was something about yoni gazing, and I'm like, this is cool stuff, right? Deya, I don't want to make you blush, but it's like that conversation. It's empowering and liberating for a woman to say, I love me enough, and I respect me enough, and I value me enough that if that's not something that you can respect or something you can do with me, then you ain't coming in. It's like that. I love that about you. I see that in you, and that's something I admire greatly about the woman that you are. Thank you for the things you've taught me. So let's talk cacao. I just love your cacao. I said before, I'm an addict. When I went to write our original post, I was like, I'm Ali May, and I'm addicted to cacao. It was like I found it at AA. It's just, I can't explain it other than, and I feel like you'll be able to give us the explanation on this to understand consciously. For me, she was a calling as well, just like ayahuasca. Do you want to dive into that?
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, cacao is such a magical plant, like most people don't know it as a plant. Most people know it as chocolate. And if we think about it, chocolate is all over the world. It doesn't matter where you go in the world, they're bound to have, even if it's Cadbury or whatever, they're bound to have some sort of chocolate. And it's something that we give as a token of our love and appreciation, Valentine's Day, Christmas, when we, there's a lot of advertising around it, like, as a woman, like the delicacy. And so chocolate is spread everywhere. And there is stories that say that that cacao comes from the jungle to remind people of their heart connection and to open people's hearts. And so as a plant spirit, cacao does the same thing that ayahuasca would do. It has that calling. It has gotten into people's consciousness and is related to love, to the heart. And yeah, it's a beautiful, it's a very it's so much more gentle than any other plant medicine, right? Because she's going to facilitate you on whatever journey you want to go in. So our intention is really important. And also what is so amazing about it is that you can consume it in so many different forms. So naturally is the fruit of these big trees that have these tiny little flowers, and out of this tiny little flower you get this huge pod. And when the pod is ready, it doesn't fall off the tree. You have to harvest it, otherwise it just over ripens on the tree. So you have to know when is the right time to harvest it. And then when you open it, you get the most delicious, succulent white pulp that is covering these seeds. And you can eat this pulp, and it's like a mixture between custard, apple, and vanilla. And then is these seeds that then go through a whole process of fermentation and sun drying and lightly toasting, and then through a stone mill to get the paste. And even in that process alone, you can get so many different variations of it. So you can ferment it for longer, you can roast it rather than toast it. You can put it through different types of meals that's going to activate the cacao differently. So it's like wine, for example. Depending on the grapes, the time of the harvest, the way of processing, you get a different type of wine. Cacao is the same. So it's so versatile, so many different ways that it can be consumed. You can have tea from the husks. You can separate the butter from it, and then you have cacao powder, and then you have cacao butter that you can use to put on your body as well. Yeah, it's amazing.
And what's the difference between, so when I first started getting the call from Cacao, I was thinking it was cocoa. So they're spelt different, and they're different. Do you want to share the difference? Because we get cocoa powder, and it's something that people will put in their smoothies, that they can bake with, and there's a difference here.
Yeah. So technically, cacao and cocoa technically are the same thing. Cocoa is just written in English, and cacao is written in Spanish, so to speak. However, there is a huge difference between cacao or cocoa paste and cacao or cocoa powder, and then within the powder there's differences. So what the paste is basically the beans have been fermented, sun dried, in CacaoAmor case lightly toasted, and then gone to a stone mill that's gonna turn the beans into a liquid that then is gonna go hard again. And a stone mill is going to make sure that it preserves all the good chemicals and all the nutritional values in it. And then when you have these, then it would go through, there's different ways to do it, but you separate the butter from the cacao, and then you have the cacao powder or cocoa powder. And these have also different methods. So you can use an extraction that's going to, with heat, separate the cacao butter, and then you get the powder. And then the Swiss developed this chemical process by which they alkalinize the cocoa powder, and then it makes it water soluble. And I do this because really it's just been stripped of most of its things, and so it's just this powder that tastes really nice, but it has no much nutritional value. Mm-hmm. Or you can cold press the cacao paste and extract the butter, which then you have a cacao powder that still has a lot of the nutritional minus the fat, which is good. If you're going to have a lot of it, then it can be good to take the butter away, because it's not so heavy on fat if you're trying to have a low fat diet. However, the fat helps a lot of the nutrition of the cacao be delivered into your body, so you do really want to have some fat with it. Yeah.
Yeah. And when Deya's talking about paste, so we have ceremonial grade cacao, and Deya refers to it. You're the only person that I've heard of refer to it as paste. So when you get a beautiful block of Deya's cacao, it's ceremonial grade cacao paste. So just to clarify there on the paste aspect.
What people normally refer to it as?
Just ceremonial grade cacao.
Okay.
Yeah. It's, and like one of the things that I love about yours, Deya, is that it hits me in the heart with the way that you treat the farmers and the way that you source your cacao, and how you pay them more than most people pay growers, and how you make sure that what they're doing is ethical for the land, for us as humans consuming. I love everything that you put into ensuring that the people are looked after, the planet is looked after, and the humans are looked after. So the consumers are looked after. Can you talk a little bit about that with your ethics and your morals around your CacaoAmor?
Yeah, thank you. So, well, I was born in Ecuador, and I was born in the city, but always been in nature. My dad was a tour guide and a marine biologist. I was always close to nature, and I always had this reverence for her. And then when cacao came into my life, for a little while I was sharing ceremonial cacao from Guatemala, and that was really nice. And then it came to me that I'm from Ecuador, and cacao, recent studies in the last 15 years have shown that it's possibly originated from Ecuador too. And I was like, well, then I should be sharing cacao from Ecuador, it feels right. And so I went on this journey to Ecuador, and I met friends who put me in touch with like the biggest exporters of cacao in Ecuador. And I was really disappointed at first. Like what I found was these monocultures. So monoculture means that they're only growing one specific crop and everything around it is barren. And they're using chemicals because they're growing so much of one thing. There's no biodiversity. There's not the right kind of bugs and life around it to keep it happy. And then they would like collect all these cacaos from all these different places and mix all the beans. So imagine it's like making wine from like 10 different types of grapes instead of one, right? And so I was left a little bit sad, and I was like, there must be something better. Like I know that cacao grows in the jungle, and I know there must be something better. And finally, I found it. It was actually a friend that went to school with my dad that had somehow heard of me or seen something and contacted my dad and was like, I think your daughter will be really interested in knowing our project. And so I contacted him, and yeah, it turned out that they were working with 200 farmers from an area of Ecuador that had actually been hit really hard some years back by a lot of plagues, and a lot of trees had to be cut down, and the government were trying to introduce a GMO variety of cacao that was so to speak pest free. But these farmers got together and were like, no, like these are farms that have been passed down through generations, that are pretty much what we called in South America a chakra. And a chakra it's funny because it's like the energy centers, but in South America a chakra is a forest farm, so what we would call a food forest. And so they have all these natural chakras, and they've been passed down through generations. And these are people who have been taking care of the trees for a long time, and so they got together and they created a cooperative where they said we're gonna find the right people to help us. And then that's where this other company came in and said, okay, we're gonna find you the buyer. And so I was in Ecuador for a short period of time at this time, so I bought 10 kilos of them, and I traveled to Kauai, to the United States, with them, and everybody, I shared cacao there, and everybody was amazed. And I was like, okay, it feels good, it tastes amazing, it smells like a bouquet of flowers, and it feels really good. The energy is really nice. Like I'm really feeling the spirit of cacao. And yet I need to go to the farms. Like I need to see it for myself. And so I went back to Ecuador and I visited about 5 out of the 200 farms, because they're huge. You just like in one day, 5 was a lot. But it was enough for me to see that, yeah, like just walking into the first farm, and it was like trees everywhere, like overgrown, and loads of butterflies. That's a really good sign. Lots of butterflies and spiders, and smelled amazing. And yeah, it was really awesome. And I think it was the second or the third farm I visited. I really want to make a documentary about this man, because this man, so he got the farm from his grandfather. And when he was a little kid, he would go beyond the farm's boundaries further into the jungle, and he would harvest cacao pods from different trees. And then whichever was his favorite, he would take back to his granddad's land and plant it. And so he would be like, so this cacao I found in this part of the jungle, and this cacao was my favorite in such and such year. And just to see his relationship to the trees was just so beautiful. And then so visiting the farms and like seeing also, it's not all happens. Like they struggle with pests are introduced, accidentally introduced, and they struggle with that. And cacao is quite particular, like it needs a specific shade and sun and specific pollinators, and it needs a specific amount of water. And sometimes there's drought, sometimes the water pump breaks and they can't bring the water in. So it was really powerful to see how much work they put. And then when I found out how little the trading set price for the cacao bean is, like in the world trade, at the time it was something like two US dollar and 60 pence for a whole quintal, which is like a lot. And I was like, this is not fair. And so we decided with the company that we were going to pay the farmers twice of what the trading price was. So if the trading price was 260, we will pay them 520 and so forth. And you know, this is just beginning. Like my importing, like I just imported 100 kilos of cacao to the UK, where I'm distributing it from, and that was when in May, and we've sold out, which is great news. But yeah, it's early days, and where I really want to get is I want to get to a stage in the company where at least 10 or 20% of what we make goes back to the farmers, and doesn't just go back in the form of money itself, but goes back, you know, help them get that water pump that's not going to break when they most need it, or help them build another little cottage so that not the whole family lives in this one room, and really like give them thanks for the work that they're doing. Because right now, what giving them double what the set trading price does is encouraging them to keep the original trees, to keep a pesticide free, to not just sell to big corporations for nothing and to overwork the trees, but to allow the trees to grow on time, and to allow the pollinators to do the thing rather than inoculate them. So yeah, I'm very passionate about this, as you can see, and it's so close to home for me because it's the country where I was born and I grew up in. Yeah.
I got tears. I'm like just listening to you and your passion and how you treat people on the planet. Just that's something I'm so passionate about. It's kindness to our planet, ourselves, and each other. And you really embody that, Deya. Thank you for giving a hoot. You know, thank you for caring so much about what it is that you do and not just being in it to make a profit. I really admire that about you. And I love how you will support others so that they can thrive as well. It's win all round, right?
Yeah, and that's something really magical about cacao as well, is that it inspires people. So cacao, you know, like scientifically, chemically, like it literally opens the heart, like it oxygenates the blood and it dilates the blood vessels. And so, you know, with an open heart, then we're more driven to do things out of compassion and love and care. And cacao really inspire us to be like better version of ourselves, and to really care. And the fact that like out of these, like I just find it amazing. You just imagine a huge tree, a tiny little flower, a huge cacao pod, and out of this pod you get chocolate. That's amazing.
And your cacao that you source is, you said before, it's, I think your word was aromatic. It's like when I opened it, it was like a bouquet of flowers. It had this, it's got a different flavor to it, and it's lighter than other cacao that I've had before as well. You can taste the cleanliness in it. It tastes clean, and the flavor is beautiful. Like I said, I'm an addict. I just want to check to see if there's any because we're streaming through Zoom, so I can't see, just for those of you that are on, thank you so much for joining us, but I can't see any comments of yours. So I just want to check and see if any of you have any questions that you wanted to ask. Just give me a minute, we'll see. We've been chatting away. It's nice to just be able to chat and not pay attention. Oops, hold on. Hang on. Okay, no questions at this point. If anybody has any questions, please pop them below. And if you're watching the replay, you can just go replay, hashtag replay, and Deya or myself will come back and answer the questions for you. What is your most favorite personal thing about cacao?
Oh wow. Okay. I feel it's my communication with her, that I feel so close to her, and she's helped me find that unconditional love for myself. So she's helped me find gratitude, which I strongly believe is the key to happiness. It's like having that daily gratitude practice. What are you grateful for? And sharing that, expanding that. And so personally, what cacao has done that for me, has helped me find my gratitude in my heart and find that compassion, and then inspire me to want to share with others. And it helped me. It literally, I found my life mission with her. Like I was traveling, I was wandering, I didn't know where I was going and what I was doing. I didn't know what my purpose in life was. And when I found cacao, it was there. Like, and she knew it way before me. Like before I even shared it in ceremony, when I sat in ceremony with her, it was like my heart just exploded open, and I felt this like rush of just forgiveness for everyone and everything. And then slowly as it became more obvious that it was to be my life path, or one of my purposes in life was to share joy and love, and cacao was going to assist me to do that, whilst at the same time helping people that grow it, which means helping the environment, which means helping, the wider community. She just helped me have like such an important purpose, and yeah, so grateful for it.
I love how you talk about her, and I love when we start exploring with plant medicines how they become more than just a plant. It's like the connection piece. I refer to ayahuasca as well as a her. It's like she this, she that. It's like, whoa, the power in that. I love how you speak. Yeah, I love how you speak about her. What else? So in the initial post that I put up to share, there's some amazing facts on your website about cacao and its benefits. So just from a health perspective, I was sharing, I think in the pre-video before we did this, that it's great for testosterone. So I had some tests done a few months back around estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And my naturopath said to me, keep taking your cacao for the testosterone increase to support that. And I mean, that's energy, right? Cacao, she certainly brings a different kind of energy. And then off your website, dear, there's a whole stack of, it's like 2,600, is it, components?
Yeah.
Do you want to share a snippet of the benefits from a health perspective?
Yeah, sure. So one of the main ingredients, one of the chemicals that cacao has is magnesium. And so magnesium is really important for the correct functioning of many areas of our body. So from our pituitary gland, which is responsible for the production of melatonin, which helps the cells decalcify. I was confused, melanin and melatonin. It's the one that helps you sleep better. And when we sleep, then it helps the cells antioxidize, which means that it helps you against cancer, because cancer is really the oxidation of cells. And also magnesium relaxes the body, and it's really good for our muscles, and it's good for the correct functioning of our endocrine system. So, and it's actually one of it's the plant, it's the food that we know that contains most of magnesium than any other. So that's pretty amazing. And we absorb most of it as well, because some other sources of magnesium, we may not absorb it so better, because we actually absorb it better putting it on the skin. So when we take cacao, we're actually absorbing a lot of magnesium. It also has high contents of iron, potassium, zinc, all those minerals that we need. It has a bunch of antioxidants. And one of my favorite chemicals that cacao has is called anandamide. And anandamide was given that name because of the Sanskrit word ananda, which means bliss. And so anandamide means the bliss molecule. And this is a chemical that we ourselves produce when we are, for example, walking in nature, or when we're spending time doing an activity that we really enjoy, and we get that feeling of euphoria and like giddy, like happiness. Cacao has this chemical, and it gives us this. And so it's also a serotonin and dopamine precursor, and something that I think it's only in the last few years we've come to know through science is that most of the serotonin and dopamine we produce in our stomach. So isn't it really interesting that cacao is something that we take and goes to our stomach, and then it helps us produce this? And so to summarize it, cacao is really good for our body to come to a state of homeostasis, which means a balanced state of well-being. It's an antidepressant because it gives us feel-good precursors and feel-good chemical anandamide. It's really good for the skin with all that zinc and potassium. The iron is really important, especially for us women who bleed. It's really good to replenish that iron. And then it has loads of polyphenols and antioxidants, which keeps us young and good. And it has good fats, and those fats help all those chemicals get delivered throughout really good through our body. So what I do want to touch upon is that the reason why when you take cacao more, you feel it so light and pure and clean, is not only because it's single origin, so used from one type of cacao, a specific place of where the cacao comes, and only specific types of these varieties are ancient varieties, so we're not mixing it with any clones or anything like that. And also is the way that it's prepared. So when we're preparing it, we are just lightly toasting it, we're not roasting it, because if you heat up cacao too high and for too long, you're destroying some of its chemical compounds and actually activating more of the stimulating bits, but you're taking away all of the other ones. So, with some cacao, you drink and you feel like you've just had a shot of coffee, but then you might get a full from it. So, CacaoAmor is really important. It was really important for me for it to be prepared in a way that's going to enhance all the chemicals and all the good chemicals, and help people feel good rather than get a rush from it. I want people to actually feel good and feel clean and feel better and not have any like adverse symptoms from it. Yeah. And they've done loads of, I could talk about this forever, so do stop at some point, but one more thing I like to add is that they've done loads of research, loads of studies with cacao. So they did studies with kids in Africa, for example, that had what do you call it, like bad teeth, and then kids that were given cacao nibs with the shells had the teeth stopped decaying as kids without it. They've done studies, no experiments, studies with people that have ADD, attention deficit disorder, and then the people that were taking the cacao were more able to concentrate and to be still. So they've done loads of studies with cacao, and yeah, it's just amazing to see how much magic it has. People have used it, they've slowly come off antidepressants, and then they take cacao instead. So I mean, I'm not a doctor, so disclaimer, always consult to your doctor before, but it's really amazing just to see the possibilities of what can be achieved with these magical plants.
Thank you for educating us, because I feel like it's become a bit of a craze, it's the cool thing to do, and there's so much more to it than just being a craze. So I appreciate you and value you so much. I know we're just if people are listening, and hello to everyone who's coming on. Can't see your comments because we've gone through Zoom, so sending you all so much love. Thank you for being here with each of us, and I'll go back to each of your comments. One of the things that I like to do with my cacao is, so I don't overheat mine as well, and make sure that it's not overheated. I hear that that's really important, like what you were just talking about before. So I just have it just over lukewarm. And I love adding superfeast mushrooms to mine, and I use and I've also been putting collagen in mine, which is just neutral flavor. But instead of just putting it in water or something else, I've just been adding it to my cacao. So getting multiple benefits. And I really love the superfeast mushrooms being added. Deya, you got me onto it, and I can't. It's just, my body's like a full body. Yes. What's it called?
Schisandra berries.
I can't do it. I have a whole jar of Schisandra berries. To me, it's just like my body's like, no.
So funny. That's maybe you do. Yeah, you don't need them then. If your body's saying no, then you don't need them. I've converted many people into them. So.
I'm a no at this point in time. Yeah. Reishi and chaga for me are ones that I love. They're my two favorites, and I'm on a neurotropic one at the moment as well. So for those of you that may not have worked with mushrooms before, there's so many beautiful medicinal mushrooms that you can work with. And for me, I like to the way that I've chosen mine, other than the Schisandra, was by just feeling into what was good for me. So it's Super Feast. You can get Super Feast from different stores. We have a store here on the Sunshine Coast, and also you can jump on their website and check out their products as well. So for those of you that would like, I would love to know what all of you add to your cacao. Like, what are your favorite recipes? I know some people add a dash of, is it paprika to give it a little, is it paprika? It's a spice.
Yeah, no. Red chilies.
Yeah, and cayenne. It's cayenne. So I thought do not do this. My friend Tammy said to me, yeah, I put cayenne in mine. I put a teaspoon of cayenne in mine and I'm trying to drink it. I took it down the sink. Don't do that. It's a little pinch of cayenne pepper. What do you
because cayenne, it dilutes the blood vessels, and so it helps the cacao get into your bloodstream faster and last longer. So that's how the people of what we call now the Americas would drink it. Yeah, when the Spanish got there, they would see the Aztecs drink cacao with like fresh chilies on it, and it was really spicy.
Love it. What do you like to add to yours, dear?
I like my Shisandra berries,
Yeah.
and I love Shisandras. I'm obsessed with it, and I really like reishi with it as well. Yeah, reishi is really nice, and I like to add this fruit called lucuma, Lucuma, which is actually it's made from the powder of a fruit. It's the dried fruit made into powder, and it's a tree that grows with the cacao.
Nice.
It gives shape to, and it makes it creamier and sweeter. So sometimes people ask me if I put milk in it, and I haven't. It's just the lucuma. Yeah. Okay. And what I like to share as well is that cacao is an enhancer. So anything that we put into our cacao, she carries it and enhances it more. So if we put reishi, we're gonna have that endocrine system supporter and that relaxation and uplifting that we get with reishi. Say if we put maca, it's gonna help the maca carry better. And that's why it's also super important to be really aware of what we're thinking and what we are holding within us when we are preparing and drinking cacao, because she's gonna exemplify that as well. So it's really important to have our heart in gratitude and have positive thoughts and good intentions with it.
Oh, I could talk to you all day as well. So if anyone has any beautiful recipes and some different bits that you add to yours, would love to hear. Would love for you to drop those below. Any questions, please put them below. And I feel like we can wrap up. Deya, do you want to let people know your website, and do you want to give them? So Deya has a beautiful offer for each of you that are on here on the call. So do you want to share with everyone all about that?
Thank you. Yeah, so the website is CacaoAmor.com, and we'll write it down. So it's CacaoAmor.com. And for those that don't know, amor means love in Spanish. And so, yeah, the website is CacaoAmor.com. And right now people can pre-order, because like I said, we sold out a few weeks ago, which is amazing, but we've got more coming in possibly the second week of September. And we've created a code for people that come through Ali. You put Barefoot Love on the checkout, you get 11% off.
Yay! Thank you. So Barefoot Love.
You. Yeah, and thank you so much. I love the fact that Barefoot Queen is like, yes, that resonates so much. She was like, I was like, what's the code? Of course, Barefoot Love. And also, I offer an online immersion where I guide people through 5 weeks into connecting, like different practices to connect with themselves, to find their intention, their alignment, and then to use cacao for expanding their purpose in life, and to also share cacao in ceremony. So that's an online course, and I think I'm gonna launch it again in October. So if people want to find out more about it, there's a form they can fill up on my website, and then that gets the conversation rolling. And yeah, anybody that comes through you as well, I like to offer a 11% discount for it.
Thank you, Beauty. Thank you for your time. I'm glad we got it working. Third time lucky. We learned something new today as well, how to go from Zoom to Facebook, and we'll figure out how I can see comments next. I'll check it out. Oh, so much love, dear. Is there one last thing that you would like to share with everyone?
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I want to say thank you so much, Ali, for having me. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And remember to practice your gratitude every day. Be grateful for all the magical things, and share it with your loved ones. Yeah, thank you. In cacao we trust.
Peace out. So much love to you, dear. Thank you so much for jumping on. Thank you to everyone who joined us. Have the most incredible day, night, afternoon, morning, wherever you are on the planet. Catch you soon.